If you want to see some action, don't buy Bleach Rebirth of Souls. Anyway, how's it going, everybody? It's Toxie Boyo, and I'm reviewing a game again for the first time in God knows how long. But it's a game that I was really looking forward to. One that means a lot to me, and one that I was always going to play no matter what. This is Bleach Rebirth of Souls. I know I'm a little late to the party. There's been a lot going on with whether I even wanted to continue making videos, whatever the case may be. I'll get to that later on in the video. But as of right now, we've got a brand new Bleach game for home consoles for the first time since, I believe, the PlayStation 3. I could be wrong, but I know that there was not a main Bleach game on PS4 unless you want to count fucking Brave Souls, and I certainly don't. And yes, Ichigo's in Jump Force, but would you consider that a Bleach game? He's not even on the goddamn box art. Point is, first Bleach game in many, many, many years, and it's the same type of anime game that you're used to by now. It's the same sort of thing as Naruto Storm, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles, Jujutsu Kaisen Cursed Clash, One Piece Odyssey. It's meant to tell the story, right? The story of Bleach from the Substitute Shinigami arc to the Fake Karakura Town arc, which is already a bit of a red flag to me. So let's just talk about how this game adapts the story of Bleach. Spoilers for Bleach, obviously. The first thing that I want to call attention to is the portion of the story that is covered in this game. The Bleach manga has, I would say, 7 arcs. Substitute Soul Reaper, Soul Society, The Vizards, Wako Mundo, Fake Karakura Town, Fullbring, and the 1,000-Year Blood War. And then there's the epilogue and Can't Fear Your Own World and the whatever else. None of that matters. I don't care. Obviously, it was not going to adapt all 7 of these arcs because the last one, 1,000-Year Blood War, has not been fully adapted by the anime just yet. Almost. It's ending very soon, but still not quite yet, and even then, we're probably going to wait a little while just to give people time to actually catch up on the proper ending of Bleach. That being said, this is the second run of the Bleach anime that we're currently on. The first one was cancelled after the Fullbring arc, which means that we're still leaving out an arc. And now look, I know that the Fullbring arc is very divisive. I'm not particularly a fan of it, but if you are, that's fantastic. It's still really important because A, there's a time skip in between that arc and the previous one. B, the art style is pretty much wholly different by that point in the show, and you're going to want a little bit of uniformity. And C, character designs are very different, but like for story reasons. And D, it kind of changes the context of a lot of things that happen in early Bleach, like the whole reason he's got a combat pass, what it means to be a Substitute Soul Reaper, Ichigo's parentage and his physiology, and all this other stuff. It's really important. And so I think it's really strange to leave it out, because there's no Fullbring content in this game whatsoever. After Aizen is defeated at the end of the Karakura Town arc, you have a little epilogue cutscene and then the credits roll. Kugo Ginjo is not playable in the game. Tsukishima isn't playable in the game. You know, you don't get Fullbring arc costumes for any of the characters. And so it makes you wonder, is this going to be DLC? Because with, as I said, that arc being as divisive as it is, you can't sell Fullbring arc content. If it's not in the game at launch, you can't sell it later. Nobody's gonna pay $10 for a Fullbring story DLC. Nobody's gonna pay $5 to play Kugo Ginjo. And if they were, that's probably the only Fullbring character you could sell. I don't know if it's that their powers work too differently or what. I have a little bit of a theory as to why that is, and I'll get to that after a brief segment about this video's sponsor. What's up, everybody? I do want to give a brief interruption to this video. Whatever I'm talking about, I'm sure I'm yapping quite enough, but just give me a couple extra minutes of your time real quick. I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, which is me, or more specifically, my Patreon. You see, YouTube has kicked me out of the partnership program again. And what happens when they do that is that they suppress my videos. So not only do I not make any money off of what I'm working so hard on and putting out for you guys to watch, they're also making it harder for you guys to see what I'm actually making. So I have to work twice as hard to get nothing back from YouTube. Now, that's not your guys' fault. I'm not blaming you. I don't even want to make it your responsibility. But you guys seem to like the work that I do here. You guys have given me so much support and told me so many nice, heartwarming things over the years. And so part of me believes that maybe you want to support me more directly. So that's why I've brought the Patreon back. I've reworked the tiers, I've adjusted some of the prices, adjusted some of the rewards. There's a whole new layout, it looks different. There's a loyalty program with a little bit of merch in there. I've revised the merch as well so that you can get it more directly. I'm also looking forward to that aspect because that means I get to work on new designs, new items. There's just stickers and mini prints there for now. I don't want to get into like t-shirts or sweaters or anything like that until I have better designs that I want to work on myself. So that's another thing, like having the Patreon back, having you guys support me there will motivate me to make more content, to live stream more, to work on music again, to work on my art again. It'll be a give and take on both of our ends. You'd be helping me out a lot just for being able to do this more, take it more seriously, get out this huge backlog of videos that I recorded, because to be honest, getting kicked out of the partnership program again is really demotivating. It's not the first time it's happened, obviously, but things felt different because it was at the start of the year. It felt like 2025 was going to be a year that really put me back where I used to be, when it comes to doing YouTube and creating content full time. I was optimistic about doing this again, and that kind of got taken away from me. Again, not your fault. Don't want to make it your fault. Do just kind of want to point you towards where you can see extra stuff and where you can support me directly if you do feel so inclined. No pressure. All right, back to the video. Actually, before I go, I just found out that I can't link things in the description anymore. There are still pinned links on my page so that you can go to my channel and click on the link to my Patreon from there, but you can't just click on the link down in the description. So I do have to ask you to do a little bit more work to go to patreon.com/ToxicTouchProductions, but I promise it will be worth it, and hopefully I'll see you there. Man, I talk a lot, don't I? But to talk about that, I have to get into a little bit of what I really don't like about the presentation of the story in this game. It's just cutscene, fight, cutscene, fight, cutscene, fight, cutscene, fight. Which is, I mean, how a lot of these games are presented to you. But there's no sauce in the presentation, right? It's just chapter selection like it's Naruto Storm. And some of those chapters don't even have a fight. Some of them are just 38-minute cutscenes, right? I was told that the campaign of this game is about 24 hours long if you don't skip any of the cutscenes. Good luck with that, though, because the cutscenes in this game are god-awful. There's these little recap sections that are narrated by somebody with, and I don't mean to be culturally insensitive, an accent that makes it difficult to take it seriously. There's nicely illustrated paintings that give context as to what's happening off screen, and then everything else is just really poorly rigged cutscenes of the character models standing in their idle animations, just yapping really bad dialogue that's also edited really awkwardly. There's also really bad direction. Point is, the painted illustrations that we get are a lot better than like when Naruto Storm 4 would just give screenshots from the anime. But the full motion, like properly animated cutscenes are not even 10% nearly as good as Naruto Storm or Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, excuse me, or Hinokami Chronicles when they were doing their proper cutscenes. And I know what you're gonna say. Well, all those games were made by CyberConnect too. This game wasn't. That's true. Some of those games probably had much bigger budgets than this game too. But The cutscenes in Naruto Storm have been fire since the first game. And that game came out in what, 2009? This game is 16 years younger than that one and can't even match that? You don't think they had comparable budgets? You don't think they had comparable development cycles? Bleach is as popular as it's ever been, and this is the best we can do? It's heartbreaking, honestly, especially as a fan of Bleach, because there's a lot of moments that you want to see that get skipped over. Oh, but you get to fight Jidanbo. And you get to fight fucking 7 unnamed Arancars in Wako Mundo. You get to act out every single fight that takes place during the Fakar Kurtan arc. And that was something that I noticed early on, is that, like, legitimately every fight you can think of between two characters that have names, or even if they don't have names, but if it's a fight that happens in the show, you can count on having to play through it in the story. It's really frustrating, because it's like every fight that takes place in, say, Soul Society, with the exception of Ryu versus Mayuri, just because I don't find it very interesting, I would want to play through. But not every fight that happens in Wako Mundo interests me. Oh, that one Arankar who Ichigo uses his hollow mask on for 5 seconds? Can't wait to do that fight. Can't fucking wait. I get to fight Yami 3 times, but the fight against Yami that you actually want to do, where he's giant and he reveals that he's the Zero Espada, you can't do. It just skips over it. It's almost like Dragon Ball Z Kakarot in that there's no internal logic as to what you play and what you don't play, what is skipped and what gets featured. Oh, but you fight that weird hollow monster creature that Wonderwall summoned. Isn't that nice? You fight him 3 damn times, actually. Isn't that nice? Don't you just love? It's a bad sign when you're maybe 30% of the way through the story of the game and you start dreading the ending, because I know how many fights take place in the Fakar Kurtan arc. It's a lot. It's a lot of fights, man. And I was like, I don't want to play those. I don't want to play those. Please don't make me. Oh, but they do. Oh, but they do. And then I also want to talk briefly about the tutorial of the game and the way that the combat mechanics work, because it does not do a good job of teaching you how to play the game at all. A lot of the things that you learn to do in the tutorial that they make you play at the beginning of the game, a lot of those mechanics, you can't even use yet. You can't even use until you get to Soul Society and Ichigo's got his own Zanpakuto. And even then, some of those mechanics you gotta wait even longer for, until Ichigo has an evolution form with the Hollow Mask. So it takes until 2 arcs into the game to start being able to do everything that the game taught you to do. That's 40% of the story, man. What are we talking about? Why is it structured like that? But something that I really dislike about the gameplay of this game is just the structure of it. There's 3 attack buttons, just like Storm, I guess. But it's like, how do I put what I'm trying to say? You don't just reduce your opponent's health to 0. Instead, you have Konpaku, or stocks, like it's Smash Brothers. And in order to win, you have to reduce that person's stock count to 0. It might start at 4. It might start at 6. It might start at 9. It might start at fucking 14. So you're going to be there for a while. If you reduce your opponent's health down to this little sliver down towards the end of it, and you do a regular combo, it'll end with this strong attack, and then you hold R2, and you do a signature with the same animation and the same voice line over and over again. And you might take 2, maybe 3 stocks. But something that I've learned through playing is that if you're in an awakened mode, or if you're in soul reverse mode, which is like a awakening mode that you get, there's like 4 different awakening modes per character. But if you're in one of those, and instead of bringing them down to that little sliver where their thing turns red, if you completely empty their health bar, and then you do the super move while you're in this enhanced mode, you do like 3 extra stocks worth of damage. Why didn't it tell you that? Or it might have, but just in a little freaking text block, and you're supposed to just store that in your brain for the next 50 hours. I also just don't like how repetitive it is. It's just, you do that, 3 or 4 times until the fight's over. Oh, but if you're fighting a boss, which you pretty much always are, if they do it to you, it takes like half your stocks right away. Isn't that nice? Isn't it nice to be fighting an opponent that's designed the same way that you are, but they only have to do the thing to you twice and you got to do it to them 4 times? Isn't that great? I love when games do stuff like that. It's just like, man, everything in that game irritates the soul out of me, man. Like, it really felt like a chore to get through, and it's really disappointing because Bleach is my favorite anime. Full stop. All time, that's my favorite show. And I felt like an insane person for even like looking forward to playing it, because by the time I got there, and by the time it was over, I had enjoyed myself for maybe a total of 45 minutes. I was having fun during the Grimjow fight, the main Grimjow fight, after Ichigo gets healed. I had fun fighting Ulquiorra, and I had a little bit of fun fighting Aizen, but I was also very confused because that fight has very weird mechanics. Now, there's a whole other aspect to this game, being the PvP multiplayer mode, or at least in theory. I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't believe that's real. As of recording, the game's been out for 2 weeks, and I have spent maybe an hour and a half in matchmaking in that game. I've queued up maybe 12 times, and I have never gotten a match. Which to me just means that nobody fucking bought this game and nobody's goddamn playing it. Not a great sign. So in theory there's multiplayer, but there have to be multiple players in order for that to matter. And so far, that has not been my experience. Bleach is part of the big 3, man. It stands next to Naruto and One Piece. Yes, it's the least popular of the 3, but that's because something has to be. It deserves more respect than it's ever gotten. It shouldn't have ever been animated by the same studio that was doing Naruto. Even though I'll say that Bleach is probably the most consistent of those 2 shows, but still, it's... For this to be the first game that we've gotten in all this time, and for it to not get a sequel series? Naruto's got a sequel series. One Piece is just still ongoing. But Bleach just got canceled. And yeah, there's Burn the Witch, and there's some like epilogue chapters that take place later on down the line. And all that stuff is cool and fine and dandy, whatever. But there's no reason that Bleach can't have something that is ongoing alongside Boruto and One Piece. And if this is the last real game that Bleach ever gets, dude, I'm gonna be so heartbroken. I'm gonna be so heartbroken. But there's nothing I'm gonna be able to do about it. I did my part, I bought the game, right? But I have to be honest with myself. I can't just gaslight myself into saying that the game's good because it's based on a thing that I like. The game sucks. And there's no crossplay. In the year of our Lord 2025, we're still putting out games with no crossplay. Storm Connections, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and now Bleach Rebirth of Souls. No crossplay. Year after year after year. Anyway, what would I rate this game out of 10? A 6, maybe, at best. It's really frustrating. I never want to feel like I have to force myself to beat a game, but I did. It's not that the game is difficult, it's just that the game is so boring and tedious to play. That being said, what did you guys think of Bleach Rebirth of Souls? I also feel like I'm an insane person because everyone that I've seen talk about this game on YouTube has said it's like the best anime game of the last 5 years. I don't understand, but whatever. Did you play it? What did you think? Am I crazy? Did you love it? Is it a good game, actually? I don't know. I'll see you next time.